Hello, everyone, and welcome to English Pod. My name is Marco.
My name is Catherine, and today we've got a very special lesson for you all about time.
That's right. We're going to concentrate a little bit on some specific points of grammar this time, and we're going to talk about the morning routine, what you do in the mornings.
Well, let's take a look first at the word routine. This is our vocabulary preview for today.
Vocabulary preview.
All right, so a routine or the morning routine. What is a routine?
A routine is basically your habit for a certain period of time. Mm-hmm. So, for example, your routine in the morning is what you do when you wake up.
Right.
Get breakfast and go to work. You can also have an evening routine. Mm-hmm. It's what you always do before you go to bed.
Exactly. So everyone has a routine, what they do in the mornings, maybe what you do at night before going to bed. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
That's right. You can also have an exercise routine. So basically anything with steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that you always do the same way. That's the routine.
Exactly. Right. So that's what we're going to take a look at today. Why don't we jump right into our dialogue and listen to Stephanie's routine.
Stephanie, did you just get to school? But you were up and about when I left the dorm this morning. That was about an hour and a half ago. This happens all the time. Why do you always take so long to get ready in the mornings?
It's a skill. What can I say? I don't know why. I just have a long routine.
Please explain, because it makes no sense to me. How can a girl's routine be so complicated? You get up, you shower, you get dressed, you brush your teeth, you're out the door. Half an hour tops.
Jacob, you have the luxury of having a haircut that rarely needs styling. I don't. I have to set aside about an hour and a half to get ready in the mornings. Every day, I wake up and head straight for the shower. Every second day, I wash my hair. If it's a hair washing day, I frequently need to wash my hair twice because it gets really oily. Then I usually put in a conditioner and have to rinse that out too. Because my hair is so long, I seldom manage to take a shower in under 20 minutes. Afterwards, I often put on a pot of coffee and get dressed while I wait for it to brew. I take a long time to get dressed in the morning. Every now and then I remember to choose my outfit the night before, but usually I do it in the morning. In all, getting dressed takes about half an hour, at which time my hair is now semi-dry, so then I have to style my hair. From time to time, I'll put my hair up, but oftentimes I blow dry it straight. And then, because of the texture of my hair, I regularly have to flat iron it to keep it from frizzing. That's another 20 minutes or so. After that, I have my daily makeup routine.
True, I hardly ever see you without your hair done and your makeup on, even when you show up to class in sweatpants. Tell me, how long does it take you to choose that outfit in the morning?
Not funny.
All right, we're back. So obviously she has a very complicated routine. I don't know if all girls are like this.
I'm not like this, but I think a lot of girls and some guys are.
Really?
I don't want to be sexist here. I know some guys who take their time in the morning and are very, very particular about the way that they look.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I imagine everyone has their morning routine in different ways. And it was interesting to see how she described it. So why don't we take a look at language takeaway?
Language takeaway.
So today's language takeaway, like I said at the beginning of the podcast, is all about time. So we're going to look at some of these important time adverbs.
That's right. These are called adverbs of frequency. And basically, they are telling us how we do things. If we do something all the time or if we never do something.
Or everything in between.
Exactly.
So the first couple we have today are very, very common words. You're going to hear these a lot. The first one is frequently.
Okay, frequently. So if you do something frequently, consider it to be about 75% of the time. Maybe a little bit more, almost 85% of the time.
Right. So it's not always, but it's very often. So for example, I frequently forget to take my keys when I'm leaving the house, which is a very big problem.
Exactly. So considering out of 7 days, maybe you forget your keys 5 days.
Not so good.
All right. So that's frequently. Now let's move on to another one that's actually a lot less. We talk about seldom.
Well, Marco has told me that he seldom forgets his keys. That means he almost always remembers them.
Right. So seldom is a negative adverb. It's saying that almost never. Okay, so if I say, for example, I seldom go to the movies.
That's too bad. I like the movies.
Right? Well, that means that I maybe go to the movie theater once a month.
Yeah, not very often.
Not
seldom.
very often. Seldom. All right. Now, going back to a positive adverb of frequency, we have often. You described frequently as very often.
That's right. So I could also say, I often forget my keys. Or, it often rains in tropical places. This means this is a common thing.
Exactly. So, again, let's consider it to be about 70 to 80% of the time. Now, with pronunciation, some people like to pronounce often, right? They kind of leave out the strong T sound. Well, other people say often.
That's right.
Both forms are correct, right?
Yes, they're both correct. So you're safe using either of these.
Right. Okay. And our third adverb of frequency, no, our fourth. And our fourth adverb of frequency is also a positive one, and we say usually.
Usually means this is something that you do pretty consistently. I usually brush my hair before I go to sleep. That means not always, but almost every day.
Right. So let's consider out of 7 days, you do it 6 times.
Yeah. I
Okay.
usually do this.
Okay. So usually is, again, very, very common. And something in between, maybe 60% of the time, 50% of the time, we say regularly.
Well, I think of the word regularly as being very closely related to regular. So basically, if I have a schedule, I do the same thing every day. I do it regularly. But sometimes there's a special occasion. For example, I regularly run 5 kilometers after work when I go to the gym. But sometimes when I want to go out with my friends, I don't run. So
Right.
it's not always, but it is pretty regular.
Exactly. So regularly means you do it very often, but there are some exceptions. Okay. Now, those are our adverbs of frequency, but we have a couple of other phrases that are very similar, so we want to take a look at those as well. Let's go back to the beginning of Stephanie's routine when she said that every day I wake up. Okay, so every day means 100% of the time, every single day.
Monday to Sunday.
Exactly. So obviously you wake up every day.
Or I brush my teeth twice every day.
So that's 100% of the time. Now, if we say every second day, what does that mean?
That means Monday, yes. Tuesday, no. Wednesday, yes. Thursday, no. Or any day. So basically, she says, I wash my hair every second day. That means one day I wash my hair, but the next day I don't. The day after that, though, I wash it again. Every second day.
Okay, so you can say every second day, and I think you can also say every other day, right?
Every other day.
So every other day or every second day.
He calls his mother every other day.
Very good. All right. And she also said that every now and then I remember to choose my outfit.
Okay, well, this one's interesting. This is not very frequent. This is basically saying sometimes.
Sometimes. So now and then. Every now and then means I sometimes do it, I sometimes don't do it.
Every now and then, I really want to eat chocolate, so I buy a candy bar.
Okay, so maybe you want to eat chocolate twice in a month.
Yeah, not very often.
Not very often. Okay. And another one that's very similar is from time to time.
So Marco said that he doesn't go to the movies very frequently, so he goes from time to time.
Right, so I can say I seldom go to the movies, or I can say I like to go to the movies from time to time.
That's right. Or this girl is describing her appearance. She says, from time to time, I put my hair up. So that means most of the time. That means sometimes it's down.
Right.
Sometimes it's up.
Right, so as you can see, there are many different ways of describing the frequency or how many times you do certain actions or your routine, right? So you can use this with a lot of things when you're describing.
And we encourage you to try some of these new ones because a lot of English learners use the same time adverbs whenever they speak. So try and really use some of these and challenge yourself.
Exactly. All right, so that's all we have for language takeaway. Why don't we move on now to Fluency Builder?
Fluency Builder.
Okay, so using some of these adverbs, I can say, I regularly make a pot of coffee in the morning.
Okay, so a pot of coffee. You regularly make a pot of coffee. That means you like to drink coffee every day.
That's right. I always need my cup of coffee in the morning, so I usually make it first thing.
So a pot of coffee, we know what a cup of coffee is, but a pot of coffee, what is a pot?
A pot is basically the container that you use when you brew coffee, when you make it. So you put the coffee beans in the machine, and instead of having a cup underneath, you have a bigger container. That's a pot. You can also have a pot of tea.
Exactly.
It's many cups, usually 8 or 10 cups.
All right. And remember that verb, to brew coffee. I think it's a very nice, kind of fancy way of saying making coffee.
Brew a pot of coffee.
I'm brewing some coffee. All right. So apart from coffee and all of these things, let's take a look at some of the specific phrases that she used when she was talking about her hair, because I think her hair is very complicated.
It is very complicated. Sometimes she washes her hair. Sometimes she doesn't wash her hair. Sometimes she blow dries it straight.
Okay, so to blow dry means that you use a blow dryer.
That's right. This is a machine that uses electricity to blow hot air on your hair so that your hair will dry quickly. But you can blow dry your hair in many ways. Some people have curly hair and they have special tools for making their hair curly. But she says she blow dries it straight. That means she makes it straight with hot air.
Right, so I think the way you do this is you take the blow dryer and a brush, and you brush while you blow dry, right?
Yep.
Awesome.
Making lines.
See, I know a little bit about this, even
Yeah.
though I don't have long enough hair for this.
No, I guess, well, maybe you are secretly one of those guys who has a routine like this woman.
I don't think I can take this much time in the shower and brushing my hair. But moving on, actually, I also know this next phrase, to flat iron your hair.
Okay, so flat iron is a noun and a verb. So I use a flat iron, or I can flat iron my hair. This is a tool that we use that's very, very hot. Think of an iron. It's very, very hot, and it basically presses my hair and makes it very, very, very thin and flat and straight.
Right. So I think people that have straight hair don't need to really flat iron their hair.
Nah, but if you have very curly hair, then you need it.
So what's the difference? Give us the insight here. Why wouldn't you just blow dry it straight? Why do you need to flat iron it?
Because a flat iron makes it more flat. It makes your hair stick together more, and it's much, much, much hotter than a blow dryer.
Okay. So I guess if you use a blow dryer, then you have puffy hair, or like the next word that she described, frizzy hair.
Okay, so the adjective to describe this kind of hair is frizzy. For example, when it's very rainy, my hair is frizzy. That means that it sticks out. It's very thick and not straight.
Okay.
It's not curly, but it's, it's messy.
It kind of inflates.
That's right. It's like a little balloon. But the verb here is to frizz. So my hair is frizzing.
Okay. And that means that it's getting like this, bigger or inflated.
That's right. So usually girls who have this problem have it worse during very humid or rainy days. Not so bad when it's dry.
Okay, so I actually have a little bit of frizzy hair. That's why I have to use some sort of
hair
gel or mousse. See, it's not because I'm vain. It's just because if I don't use this, I'll come in looking like a lion. And I don't think
I think I might have to insist that happens sometime soon. We can take a picture and put it on our website, englishbot.com.
For sure. All right, so why don't we go back and listen to the dialogue one last time.
Stephanie, did you just get to school? But you were up and about when I left the dorm this morning. That was about an hour and a half ago. This happens all the time. Why do you always take so long to get ready in the mornings?
It's a skill. What can I say? I don't know why. I just have a long routine.
Please explain, because it makes no sense to me. How can a girl's routine be so complicated? You get up, you shower, you get dressed, you brush your teeth, you're out the door. Half an hour tops.
Jacob, you have the luxury of having a haircut that rarely needs styling. I don't. I have to set aside about an hour and a half to get ready in the mornings. Every day, I wake up and head straight for the shower. Every second day, I wash my hair. If it's a hair washing day, I frequently need to wash my hair twice because it gets really oily. Then I usually put in a conditioner and have to rinse that out too. Because my hair is so long, I seldom manage to take a shower in under 20 minutes. Afterwards, I often put on a pot of coffee and get dressed while I wait for it to brew. I take a long time to get dressed in the morning. Every now and then I remember to choose my outfit the night before, but usually I do it in the morning. In all, getting dressed takes about half an hour, at which time my hair is now semi-dry, so then I have to style my hair. From time to time, I'll put my hair up, but oftentimes I blow dry it straight. And then, because of the texture of my hair, I regularly have to flat iron it to keep it from frizzing. That's another 20 minutes or so. After that, I have my daily makeup routine.
True, I hardly ever see you without your hair done and your makeup on, even when you show up to class in sweatpants. Tell me, how long does it take you to choose that outfit in the morning?
Not funny.
All right, so actually talking about morning routines, and we've given you so many tools, I think it would be a great idea if our users came to our site, englishpod.com, and posted a part of their morning routine, trying to use as many adverbs of frequency as possible.
That's a great suggestion. And to get you all started, I could give you a little bit of my routine.
All right, let's hear it.
Every morning when I wake up, I turn off the alarm, which is very loud, and I take a shower. I always brush my teeth, and I usually brew a pot of coffee, although sometimes I don't have time to brew my coffee, and I wait until I arrive at my office. I seldom choose the clothes I will wear the night before. I almost always choose them in the morning, and generally I ride my bike to work, but not always.
Okay, I think in the winter you seldom ride your bike to work.
Every once in a while I ride
Every
it.
now and then. All right, see? You have a perfect example there of more or less what we expect, but also it would be interesting to see if you have any other type of routine. I know some people wake up in the morning and the first thing they do, they always walk their dog, for example.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
Other people are very hungry, so they almost always eat
First.
right when they wake up.
I eat before I brush my teeth.
Well, smart, actually.
Yeah. All right, so we want to hear from you guys. Come to englishpod.com. We'll see everyone there.
Bye.
Bye. The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
Out of bed and beginning to move around. Up and about. To keep time for a particular purpose. Set aside. Often. Frequently. Almost never. Seldom. Whenever. At which time. Once in a while. From time to time. Frequently. Oftentimes. Cosmetics applied to improve your appearance. Makeup. A set of clothes. Outfit.
Let's try that faster.
Often. Frequently. Out of bed and beginning to move around. Up and about. Cosmetics applied to improve your appearance. Makeup. Frequently. Oftentimes. Almost never. Seldom. Once in a while. From time to time. A set of clothes. Outfit. To keep time for a particular purpose. Set aside. Whenever. At which time.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Up and about. Once I started taking the medication, I was up and about in no time. Up and about. He's usually up and about by 7 a.m. Up and about. Everyone else in the house is usually already up and about by the time I wake up. Set aside. I set aside 20 minutes every day to meditate. Set aside. You really need to set aside some time this week to work on your final project. Set aside. I set aside food for the next day's lunch and then ate the rest for dinner. Frequently. She frequently visits her grandfather on the weekends. Frequently. I frequently like to take drives in the countryside to get out of the city. Frequently. I eat the fish, but not frequently, maybe once or twice a month. Seldom. He seldom speaks about his family. Seldom. My roommate is always in her room. She seldom comes out. Seldom. I seldom manage to see my family now that I'm living on the other side of the country. At which time, I walked in the room, at which time my dog leaped up and gave me a huge kiss. At which time, dessert was served after dinner, at which time a string quartet began to play. At which time, he found a dead end, so he turned around and started to walk back down the alleyway, at which time several gang members turned the corner and stopped in front of him.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to English Pod. My name is Marco.
My name is Catherine, and today we're talking about sports and outdoor activities.
That's right. We are taking a look at a lot of different adventure sports. So they're not just regular sports like tennis or soccer. These are more dangerous sports.
That's right. So adventure sports is the topic. This is intermediate level. Let's check out the dialogue, and we'll be back in a moment.
Welcome to Adventure Tours. How may I help you?
I want to book a tour with adventure sports.
Excellent. Our company has more than 10 years of experience in the adventure tourism and sports field. Let me show you some options. This is our most popular choice. Our river guides will take you on a whitewater rafting trip followed by a ride in a hot air balloon.
I don't really think I'm ready to throw myself down a river full of jagged rocks in a rubber boat, or go up in the air in a wicker basket held up by an oversized balloon. What else do you have?
Well, in that case, we can take you hang gliding with one of our experienced instructors. It's the closest you can get to flying.
What? You mean strap myself to a flimsy kite? No, thank you. Next?
Okay. Well, why don't you tell me a little bit more about what you would like? We have everything from mountain biking to rock climbing to street luge.
I'm thinking something exciting, but safer.
I have the perfect option. This package will take you on a hiking trip through the Himalayas for 3 days, and afterwards there's a dog sledding journey.
That's more like it.
All right, we're back. So obviously this tour agency or tour operator has a lot of different options, a lot of them exciting. So why don't we take a look at some of those on Language Takeaway.
Language takeaway.
So the first one has to do with water. This is called whitewater rafting.
That's right. So whitewater rafting. Now, rafting means that you go in a raft.
That's right. It's a special kind of boat, not a wooden boat, not like a big boat you see in the ocean. This is a special boat for rivers, maybe.
That's right. It's an inflatable rubber boat. So he also described it as a rubber boat.
Okay, rubber is the material it's made out of.
That's right. So you go in this boat in a river, and it's called white water because it has rapids. So the river is moving very quickly, and you can see that it's a little bit dangerous to go swimming in a river like this.
That's right. So when the water goes really fast, or when it hits some rocks, the color changes from being blue or brown to white, and that's why it's whitewater rafting.
That's
and
right.
It's very, very scary and very dangerous.
That's right, but very exciting. So that's considered an adventure sport. And then the trip was followed by a ride in a hot air balloon.
Well, everyone's seen balloons before. Sometimes we give children balloons at the fair or maybe for their birthday. Balloons are basically rubber filled with air. But a hot air balloon is a very special kind of mode of transportation, actually. You can travel in a hot air balloon.
That's right. It's a big, big balloon that has a basket under it. And the person actually described it as a wicker basket. A wicker is the material that's used in the basket, right?
That's right. You can have wicker furniture, like wicker chairs. It's just a way to basically make furniture out of this kind of bark or natural material.
So a hot air balloon is a very big balloon, and it's filled with hot air, usually by some sort of fire that's under it. And because it's filled with hot air, it goes up in the air. And as you say, you can use it as transportation, maybe to go very long distances carried by the wind, because there's no real way of giving it direction, or just for fun.
That's right. It's another dangerous but less dangerous kind of sport. But after that, we actually have one that I think you have some experience with. It's called hang gliding.
That's right. Hang gliding it's another type of sport, also a type of flying sport. And basically, you get on a hang glider.
Okay, so if you've seen this before, you'll know that it looks like someone is wearing wings.
That's right.
It's a big kite that you wear.
It's a big kite. It kind of looks like a triangle, like a kite, and you fly in it. So it has no motor. It has not like the hot air balloon. It has no fire. So you just basically glide. You just sail through the air, the atmosphere.
Sounds very peaceful.
It is.
But they say that you should go with an instructor. So what kind of instructor does this tour company offer?
That's right. The tour operator talked about taking you on a hang glider trip with one of our experienced instructors.
So experienced is the key word here. You want someone who has done this many times before, someone who knows what they are doing.
That's right. So an experienced instructor is a person that has, as you say, a lot of experience, or is a professional. So that's an experienced instructor.
Right. You could even say, I want to take flying lessons with an experienced pilot.
Right. Or you can even talk about maybe a chef. He is a very experienced chef.
He's been a chef for a long time.
That's right. So hang gliding. And our final sport, very exciting as well. We are going dog sledding.
Okay, so this is basically a winter sport, or a sport that you do in snowy places. You stand or sit on a sled, and a team of dogs, so that means many dogs, pull you across the snow.
That's right. So you go on a sled, which is basically usually made out of plastic or wood, and this is to go on top of the snow. And as you say, a team of dogs pull you. I think you can see this in movies. This is kind of like the mode of transportation in places where there are no roads, there are no other ways of getting places, that you just get pulled by dogs.
Like Alaska or the Arctic Circle, somewhere very, very far north.
Exactly. So a lot of great adventure sports, very exciting. I think it's time for us to listen to the dialogue again. And we'll be back in a bit with Language Takeaway Part 2.
Welcome to Adventure Tours. How may I help you?
I want to book a tour with adventure sports.
Excellent. Our company has more than 10 years of experience in the adventure tourism and sports field. Let me show you some options. This is our most popular choice. Our river guides will take you on a whitewater rafting trip followed by a ride in a hot air balloon.
I don't really think I'm ready to throw myself down a river full of jagged rocks in a rubber boat. or go up in the air in a wicker basket held up by an oversized balloon. What else do you have?
Well, in that case, we can take you hang gliding with one of our experienced instructors. It's the closest you can get to flying.
What? You mean strap myself to a flimsy kite? No, thank you. Next?
Okay. Well, why don't you tell me a little bit more about what you would like? We have everything from mountain biking to rock climbing to street luge.
I'm thinking something exciting, but safer.
I have the perfect option. This package will take you on a hiking trip through the Himalayas for 3 days, and afterwards there's a dog sledding journey.
That's more like it.
All right, we're back. So now we're going to take a look at 3 quick adjectives that we saw in this dialogue on Language Takeaway Part 2.
Language takeaway.
This first adjective is something I am not a fan of. Let me just say, if you ever go rafting and you see rocks, you want to avoid or you want to stay away from jagged rocks.
That's right. So the adjective jagged refers to maybe sharp or they can cut you, right?
That's right. So something that is jagged is not smooth. It's the opposite of smooth.
That's right. So maybe you've seen some rocks that have that are very pointy or that have things that can easily hurt you or cut you. Those are jagged rocks.
Broken glass can have jagged edges, and that means you want to avoid touching it because it can hurt you.
Exactly. So jagged is a way of describing something that's maybe sharp, pointy, or very dangerous that can cut you. And then moving on, when we were talking about the hot air balloon, this person very cleverly said that he doesn't want to go up in the air in a basket held by an oversized balloon.
Okay, so he's exaggerating. Like you said, he's being clever or silly. He's just afraid of the balloon. Mm-hmm. But basically, he's saying an oversized balloon is a very, very, very big or unnaturally big balloon.
Right, so bigger than normal. So an oversized balloon would be a balloon that's bigger than normal. Or maybe I've seen an oversized...
In the early 1990s, I remember a clothing trend. A lot of people like to wear oversized T-shirts.
That's right. So T-shirts that were way too big for you or maybe unnaturally big, those would be oversized T-shirts.
Like XXXL.
Exactly. All right. And our final adjective when he was talking about hang gliding, he said that he's not ready to go up in the air strapped to a flimsy kite.
Okay, so the key word here is flimsy. Mm-hmm. We already talked about a kite. It's something that flies in the air. Mm-hmm. But something that's flimsy is not very stable or sturdy.
That's right. So it doesn't seem like it's very solid. So if you have a kite...
So a normal airplane is very sturdy, but a paper airplane is very flimsy. It's thin. It moves around a lot. You can't control it.
Exactly. So it's not very solid. It's not very, as you said, sturdy. It doesn't really seem like it can stay up in the air for very long.
And it definitely can't support someone's weight.
That's right. So you can even have a flimsy chair. Maybe the chair is a little bit loose or it doesn't seem like it's very strong.
It feels like it might break.
That's right. So flimsy, that's the adjective there, flimsy. So that's all the adjectives we have for you today. Why don't we listen to the dialogue quickly one last time, and we'll be back to talk a little bit more.
Welcome to Adventure Tours. How may I help you?
I want to book a tour with Adventure Sports.
Excellent. Our company has more than 10 years of experience in the adventure tourism and sports field. Let me show you some options. This is our most popular choice. Our river guides will take you on a whitewater rafting trip followed by a ride in a hot air balloon.
I don't really think I'm ready to throw myself down a river full of jagged rocks in a rubber boat, or go up in the air in a wicker basket held up by an oversized balloon. What else do you have?
Well, in that case, we can take you hang gliding with one of our experienced instructors. It's the closest you can get to flying.
What? You mean strap myself to a flimsy kite? No, thank you. Next?
Okay. Well, why don't you tell me a little bit more about what you would like? We have everything from mountain biking to rock climbing to street luge.
I'm thinking something exciting, but safer.
I have the perfect option. This package will take you on a hiking trip through the Himalayas for 3 days, and afterwards there's a dog sledding journey.
That's more like it.
Okay, so Marco, I know this is one of your favorite areas, adventure sports. You're a lot more daring than I am because I wouldn't do many of these things, but what have you done?
I've actually haven't been in a hot air balloon. I don't really think that's very exciting.
It does seem kind of boring.
Yeah, you don't really go very fast. And I've never done a street luge, which is an interesting sport, although it is pretty dangerous. It's basically, you're kind of riding on a type of skateboard, right?
Yeah, basically it's a big skateboard and you lie down on it, your feet go down and your head is back. You're on your back and you go downhill really fast.
This is actually an Olympic sport and it's simply called luge, and you can see this with those big icy tracks that they have, and they go downhill and they slide down on a bobsled. Or luge would actually be the same thing, but just one or two people on some type of like skateboard looking thing.
Basically, it's open. The bobsled is closed, so you see the people's heads, but the luge, you just see their whole body, and they're lying down on a piece of metal, and they go down very, very quickly.
They go very fast. I think in bobsledding and luge, I think they can reach speeds up to like 100 kilometers per hour or more.
That's right. And this year it was actually very sad at the Olympics. A luge, I think it was luge athlete died in practice.
That's right. So extreme sports or adventure sports, they are, as the name says, full of adventure, very exciting, but also obviously very dangerous. I think hiking is not really an adventure sport or very dangerous unless you're hiking in dangerous territory with bears or something.
Possible. Well, maybe you guys should let us know, what kind of sports do you do? Do you enjoy adventure sports? Our website is englishpod.com.
All right, we'll see everyone there.
Bye.
The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
A huge balloon risen up by hot air. Hot air balloon. In an area of work, study. In the field. Having a sharp surface. Jagged. Larger than what is listed. Oversize. If something said earlier is true. In that case. Gliding in a hang glider. Hang gliding. The easiest way, the most likely thing. The closest thing you can get to. Ride a bicycle designed for riding in mountainous. Mountain biking. The sport of scaling rock masses on mountainsides. Rock climbing. The sport of descending a steep road. Street luge. The sport of rafting down fast-flowing rivers. Whitewater rafting.
Let's try that faster.
The sport of scaling rock masses on mountainsides. Rock climbing. If something said earlier is true. In that case. Gliding in a hang glider. Hang gliding. The sport of rafting down fast-flowing rivers. Whitewater rafting. Having a sharp surface. Jagged. Ride a bicycle designed for riding in mountainous. Mountain biking. The easiest way, the most likely thing. The closest thing you can get to. In an area of work, study. In the field. A huge balloon risen up by hot air. Hot air balloon. The sport of descending a steep road. Street luge. Larger than what is listed. Oversize.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
In the field. I've been working in the medical field for 20 years now. I know it inside and out. In the field. He's only worked in the field for less than a year, so I have no idea why they hired him as the new supervisor. In the field. They tested the new theory for 2 years in the field before publishing their findings. Whitewater rafting. I clung to the sides of the raft as we headed for the rapids and silently wished I had never signed up for whitewater rafting. Whitewater rafting. She has whitewater rafted many, many times before, so you should trust her to get through the journey safely. Whitewater rafting. The summer camp I'll be attending is offering a whitewater rafting excursion. Jagged. I clung to the bridge as I looked down at the jagged rocks hundreds of feet beneath me. Jagged. As I picked up the broken glass, the jagged edges cut into my hand. Jagged. The tailor began to cut off the jagged edges of the piece of fabric. Oversize. The oversized coat engulfed me. Oversize. I began to fall asleep in the oversized armchair. Oversize. In the oil fields in Alberta, oversized trucks 3 stories tall transport oil sands from the field to the refinery. The closest thing you can get to. Eating McDonald's is the closest thing you can get to eating Western food in China. The closest thing you can get to. Descending a steep incline on a roller coaster is the closest you can get to experiencing zero gravity without having to get on a jet plane. The closest thing you can get to. Driving this car is the closest I can get to riding in luxury for under 30 grand.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to English Pod. My name is Marco.
My name is Catherine, and today we have a sad lesson for you. This is an intermediate level lesson about what happens when a friend or family member dies.
Exactly. So we have a lot of words that are related to all the preparations for when somebody dies, and also some phrases that you can say to someone that maybe had a family member who recently passed away. So before we get into all of this, we have a key word that we want to take a look at now in Vocabulary Preview.
Vocabulary Preview.
All right, so in Vocabulary Preview, you have that one word, and it's the title of our lesson also, funeral.
Funeral. So funeral is an event. It's something that we have. So basically, a funeral is the time when we mourn someone who has died. It's a celebration of their life.
Right, so it's kind of like a ceremony where you respect that person that passed away, right? Some people will talk about the person that passed away, or maybe, it's time to maybe honor that person, to, as you say, mourn and remember that person.
Right. So it's very common for people in different religions to have different traditions. In some religions, like I think in Christianity, you have a priest who will say some things that are very traditional and then say some things about the person who died. And other religions have different ceremonies.
Right.
So today we're going to take a look at what happens in preparing a funeral.
Hi, Daniel. How are you holding up? I'm greatly sorry for your loss.
Thank you. I'm doing much better. I've begun organizing everything for the funeral.
How's that going?
It's a lot harder than I imagined. There are many things that you have to arrange. I booked a time and date with the funeral home, but I still have a lot of things to do.
Have you bought a burial plot and a casket?
No, Wendy is being cremated. She always talked about how she didn't want to be buried. I already chose a cremation urn, and we plan to spread the ashes in the ocean.
I see. That sounds like something she would have really liked. I'm sure the memorial service will be tasteful. You're doing a great job.
Thanks. It hasn't been easy, but luckily we have life insurance, and Wendy left behind a detailed will that will sort out any other legal matters.
All right, we're back. So a pretty interesting dialogue, and I'm sure you have a lot of questions regarding some of those words and phrases that you heard. So why don't we take a look at 5 key words on language takeaway?
Language takeaway.
So basically, we have 2 friends in this dialogue who are discussing arrangements for a funeral, and one friend is asking the other about his preparations and asks if he's bought a burial plot.
Okay, burial plot. Now, what is a burial plot and why would you buy one?
Well, a plot, P-L-O-T, plot is a piece of land. So you can think about this logically. A burial plot, burial, to bury, is a place, a space in the ground where we bury a person.
Usually you buy one of these at a cemetery, right?
That's right. So cemeteries have usually a lot of land, and you can pay for a piece of land.
A small portion.
A small portion, yeah. And that's a burial plot.
Okay, good. And, well, our next word is related to what you put into this burial plot, right? Somebody dies, and what goes into this piece of land is a casket.
That's right. And I don't know if any of you are fans of the TV show 6 Feet Under, but you'll know from this TV show that there are many different kinds of caskets.
Right.
So a casket is a box. You can have fancy caskets, or you can have wooden caskets that are very simple, like pine. And basically, this is the box that the person's body will go into when they're buried.
Right. Very good. So that is called a casket. Well, moving on, a new trend, I would say, in many countries and many people around the world don't want to be buried. So what happens? You get cremated.
Cremated. So this is the option for people who are not buried. In some countries, China, for example, I don't think you can be buried. You have to be cremated because there's an issue of space.
Right.
And this is an option for most people where basically your friend or your loved one, their body is burned, and you can collect the remains afterwards. They're very small. They're ashes.
Right.
So it's like a burning process.
Okay, interesting. So the word is to be cremated, to get cremated.
Yeah, his body was cremated.
And well, as you said, you take the ashes and you can put them in a cremation urn or just an urn.
Okay, urn. This might sound like a strange word to you, but an urn is a special kind of pot, okay, or a vessel to hold things in. So, for example, in this case, we have a cremation urn that is a special pot, usually very beautiful. Sometimes there's a name on it with the deceased person's ashes,
right,
his or her remains.
Okay, very good. So, as you said, it's kind of like a vase or a pot, something very nice and small where you have the person's ashes. All right, so now we know what happened during the funeral. We know what happens, how you maybe cremate the person or you put them in a casket. And, well, what happens afterwards?
Well, afterwards you have a memorial service. Okay, so many people want to know what's the difference between a funeral and a memorial service.
Right.
In my mind, a funeral is very quiet and sad, and you have some respectful words, and you usually put the casket into the ground, or you have some kind of ceremony. But a memorial service is an opportunity to talk to friends and family, to eat some food, to have some drinks, to talk about the person who died. It's almost like the party, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. It's a get-together of people who obviously are trying to give support to their friends or their family members who lost that person, but also to talk about that person in a good way and all the great memories they had. I guess that's why it's called a memorial service, because you remember and you give out your memories about that person.
Exactly.
Okay, great. So a lot of interesting words there, very specific to this topic, but obviously really important. So why don't we go back and listen to the dialogue again?
Hi, Daniel. How are you holding up? I'm greatly sorry for your loss.
Thank you. I'm doing much better. I've begun organizing everything for the funeral.
How's that going?
It's a lot harder than I imagined. There are many things that you have to arrange. I booked a time and date with the funeral home, but I still have a lot of things to do.
Have you bought a burial plot and a casket?
No, Wendy is being cremated. She always talked about how she didn't want to be buried. I already chose a cremation urn and we plan to spread the ashes in the ocean.
I see. That sounds like something she would have really liked. I'm sure the memorial service will be tasteful. You're doing a great job.
Thanks. It hasn't been easy, but luckily we have life insurance and Wendy left behind a detailed will that will sort out any other legal matters.
All right, we're back. So we have a couple of phrases, 4 to be exact, that we want to take a look at now in Fluency Builder.
Fluency Builder.
Okay, this first phrase is a very useful one if you're trying to ask someone about maybe how they're feeling, or someone who's had some problems recently. You can ask them how things are going. One person says to the other, "Hi, Daniel, how are you holding up?"
Right. How are you holding up? Now, you know that to hold up something means to have it in your hands, but in this case, you're talking about how are things going?
Right, but I wouldn't say, "Hey, how are you holding up?"
Right. You wouldn't say that to somebody, right? If normal circumstance.
Not if Marco looks really happy, I won't ask him. But if someone has passed through a very difficult period, for example, if someone dies in their family, or perhaps if they've been very sick, or, there's some negative or difficult things that happen, you can say, "How are you holding up?"
So basically means how are you dealing with this difficult situation?
Yes, exactly.
Or how are you dealing with your illness? Okay. How are you holding up?
Or how are you holding up with your in-laws?
Right, exactly. How are you dealing with that difficult situation? And then the person complimented this by saying, and this is a very good phrase, this whole sentence is very useful if you want to say something nice to a person that has recently lost someone. You say, "I am greatly sorry for your loss."
Okay, so you might have heard the word loss before. Lose, loss. Loss is a noun. It's a thing. We normally say this about people who have died, because you don't want to say, "I'm really sorry for your dead brother."
Right.
That's it's sad. It's
Too direct.
very rude. Too direct. So in English, we say, "I'm greatly sorry for your loss, for this part of your life that has been, that has gone away."
Right.
You can also say, "I'm very sorry for your loss." This is standard phrase this is a standard phrase for funerals and memorial services.
Exactly. So if somebody's brother died, you go up to that person and you can say, "I am greatly sorry for your loss. I am very sorry for your loss." That's what you say. And it's very respectful and it's very nice to say.
Yes, it's very nice.
All right. So now moving on, we've said that the person is sorry and everything. But then they were talking about the girl Wendy and that she had life insurance and that she also left behind a detailed will.
Does that mean she forgot it?
She forgot it. But that it can mean that, right?
Right. No, yeah, this is a phrase that has a couple different meanings. And so it's important to look at this one when we're talking about someone who has died, who left behind something. It means that they have completed it in this case, or it survives them.
Okay. So they left that for you. Okay. Because as you said, it has a couple of different meanings. Like to leave behind can be to lose or to forget. But in this case, specifically, it's to leave for you.
Yeah. For example, you could say he died and he left behind 3 children. Okay. So that means that he had 3 children when he died, and they're still alive.
Right. Okay. Very interesting phrase, to leave something behind. And so she left behind a detailed will, and that's going to sort out any other legal matters.
To sort out. This is a great verb. This is it's a verbal phrase that we hear a lot with documents and wills and things like this. Basically, to sort out means to solve problems or to fix or to amend. For example, have you sorted out that problem you had with your plane tickets?
Okay, yeah, to sort out. So have you fixed those problems or have you solved those problems that you had with your plane tickets?
To sort out, to fix, to make arrangements for. Very, very useful phrase.
Very useful phrase. Okay. So 4 key phrases there, really good ones. Why don't we go back, listen to the dialogue, and we'll be back to talk a little bit more.
Hi, Daniel. How are you holding up? I'm greatly sorry for your loss.
Thank you. I'm doing much better. I've begun organizing everything for the funeral.
How's that going?
It's a lot harder than I imagined. There are many things that you have to arrange. I booked a time and date with the funeral home, but I still have a lot of things to do.
Have you bought a burial plot and a casket?
No, Wendy is being cremated. She always talked about how she didn't want to be buried. I already chose a cremation urn and we plan to spread the ashes in the ocean.
I see. That sounds like something she would have really liked. I'm sure the memorial service will be tasteful. You're doing a great job.
Thanks. It hasn't been easy, but luckily we have life insurance and Wendy left behind a detailed will that will sort out any other legal matters.
All right, we're back. So now, talking about funerals, there's an interesting word. What is it called when a person speaks at a funeral?
Well, normally at a funeral, a loved one or friend will give a eulogy.
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 Okay, that's EU, right?
EU. It looks like a funny word, but it's very important, and it's something that you hear a lot. Who will give the eulogy? Or his son will give the eulogy. So this is maybe the keynote address in a funeral. This is the important speech where someone will discuss the person who has died and his or her contributions and life.
Right. Okay, so that's called a eulogy. That's really, really interesting because, I don't know, it's kind of a word that you don't really use much and you wouldn't really know it. For example, I didn't really know about it until I saw it in a movie when he made a mistake. He said Googlegy or something like that.
Really?
I remember. Yeah, it was in a comedy. So, but very interesting words. It's a sad topic, but it happens. Sometimes you have to deal with these things, and so if you have to do it in English, well, what better way than to learn all of these things, which could come in handy sometimes.
That's right. And, you never know. You're watching a movie or something and this comes up. There are a lot of comedies, like you said. We call them black comedies. It means they're very dark and
talk about that.
strange. And they, like Four Weddings and a Funeral is a very famous English movie about this kind of thing. And so this is useful vocabulary and some useful phrases for those situations as well.
Exactly. Even if you maybe meet somebody who... I remember I knew somebody who met a casket salesman.
Really?
Sold caskets.
It's an interesting job.
Yeah, so you never know.
You never know. Well, hope you've enjoyed this lesson. Not too dark for you, but please do remember to ask us any questions or practice some of your new words and phrases on our website, EnglishPod.com.
All right, we'll see you guys there.
Bye.
Bye. The English Pod audio review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
Continue to live through hardship. Hold up. The act of burying, especially the interment of a dead body. Burial. Burn up something and reduce to ash. Cremate. Being in keeping with good taste. Tasteful. Having many details. Detail.
Let's try that faster.
Continue to live through hardship. Hold up. Having many details. Detail. Burn up something and reduce to ash. Cremate. Being in keeping with good taste. Tasteful. The act of burying, especially the interment of a dead body. Burial.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Hold up. Craig is holding up well after the surgery. Hold up. He continued to hold up even with all the stress. Hold up. Our family is having a difficult time holding up after my father's death. Burial. Burial plot are expensive in Japan. Burial. My parents bought burial plot that are next to each other. Burial. Each burial plot in our cemetery has an individual ID number. Cremate. Cremation is more and more popular these days. Cremate. I want to be cremated when I die. Cremate. Many people choose to be cremated nowadays. Tasteful. This is a very tasteful color you use for your home. Tasteful. I think that this place is charming and tasteful. Tasteful. The wedding we attended was elegant and tasteful. Detail. There are detailed instructions on how to assemble the computer. Detail. Mike left detailed contact information in case you need to contact him. Detail. This book contains detailed information about Italy.